Welcome everyone. Today it's a pleasure to have Erik Everhard here, an exceptional author, men's coach, and former professional porn star. Welcome, Erik.
Hey man, pleased to be here.
Great to have you here. It's an honor. Any background from what you did when you were younger, before business and the professional work as well?
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Calgary, Alberta. Don't know if you know where that is. Think of it as almost Texas North, right? Oil country of Alberta in Canada. And so grew up there, went to university in Vancouver, Canada. And after university, I was attending massage therapy school. And while I was attending massage therapy school, I saw this advertisement in a local paper looking for women and couples to do a porno movie. And so that was the genesis of me going down the rabbit hole of becoming a world famous actor in that realm. So that was kind of where the journey initially started. And then, fast forward to now, after having been in that business for 25 years, now what I do is I take all the lessons that were taken from that, all the experiences, all the techniques, all the tactics. And now what I do is I help men overcome their performance anxiety. I help them last longer in the bedroom, and I help them gain a new belief structure about themselves. Because if we kind of look big picture in the world, that's one of the big things that's missing is guys have lost this sense of belief, this sense of masculinity. And now I'm trying to help them get it back without the use of pharmacological drugs, because the drugs are now rampant. Everybody thinks they need drugs to perform, and that's not the case. What you need is a clear mind, and you need the right processes and tactics. So
I see. How many years were you to the porn star industry?
Oh, I started in April 1998.
Okay,
So
I see.
it was quite a long time ago. And that's the thing that, times were much different back then. And because there were no pharmaceutical drugs, the biggest thing that I learned was mindset. And this goes to everybody, whether, you're trying to get a raise at the office, whether you're trying to, start a new career, whether you're trying to, be a good family, a good parent. Mindset is everything. I've become a real believer in the fact that, if you don't have belief, you don't have anything. Because belief is the bedrock of everything that I've ever seen be successful for myself, and even all the fellow entrepreneurs and businessmen that I've seen that have had success. They had irrational belief in themselves, and you think about business, like, well, what are the stats? 9 out of 10 businesses fail.
Yeah.
Something along that line, right? So
correct.
we have to have irrational belief in ourselves if we're going to even get in the arena of having a chance to be successful.
True.
Whether it's in the bedroom, whether it's in the boardroom, if you're lacking that initial belief, you're never going to be able to stick with it, to get the ultimate goal, whatever that ultimate goal is, whether it's to get the money, whether it's to get the fame, to get the status, or whether it's just to, be better sexually. It all stems from that beginning piece of, well, do I have belief in myself? And that belief, typically that comes from us being competent in what we're doing. Confidence is a byproduct of competence.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, where do we go to get this competency so that now, at least when we're charging forward, we don't have this insanity kind of belief, but we've got a true belief in that, hey, we've got the tools, we've got the tactics, we've got the right mindset. Hopefully we have the right mentors or the right people surrounding us, and now we got a shot to make something happen.
Yeah. You mentioned specifically in the men's coaching industry that many of them are using drugs to perform. And it's interesting because nowadays using drugs for many kind of issues is like the new norm. How do you think this works in your industry particularly?
Well, you first you'd have to ask yourself, well, what are the drugs for? Right? Because there can be drugs that are useful, right? Like if you've got some bacterial infection and you might die, some penicillin might be useful, right?
Yeah, correct.
So are we trying to solve a physical problem with a physically based solution, which is the drug? Or are we in a situation where we're trying to solve a mental problem with a physical based solution, which is the drug, right? And that's where you end up with the biggest problem. It's the same thing with, look at all the people now that are on SSRIs. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that they're, not good for you, that they're ineffective, yet people want a crutch. It's like, well, if you want to overcome, especially for men, right? If you want to overcome a mental problem, if you want to overcome depression, well, you need to have a purpose in life and you need to have actionable steps to achieve that purpose. Most guys, when they're depressed, it's because they're not doing, pardon my French, they're not doing fuck all. And you need somebody that's going to say, you know what? You're worthy, you're valued, you can achieve something. Let's go out and make it happen. So when you're looking at the drug use, well, the drug use is a cop-out and it's a Band-Aid for the unwillingness to look at themselves, to look inside and say, well, where is the chink in the armor in my mental capacity?
Yeah.
Where is my inner voice letting me down? Because that's all it is. Anybody out there that thinks a 25-year-old needs Viagra needs to have their head examined. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
What's wrong with these people? Yet they're prescribing it like it's going out of style. I was just on recently, and if you want to see some horror stories, go look at Reddit. I mean, you have all these kids that, it's 17-year-olds and they're struggling with erectile dysfunction. At 17, you got more testosterone pumping through you than a horse at the Kentucky Derby. So you shouldn't have this problem. It's not a physical problem. It's a psychological problem. And yet we want to address it like it's a physical problem. And then, people want to treat people like there's something physically wrong with them, which isn't the case. So if you start to look at the business, and if I was to even look at the adult industry, how it changed, one of the biggest changes was the introduction of the pharmaceutical drugs. And that has, I would say, essentially that has co-opted the industry. And what does it do? Well, it creates a sense of no belief in people, right? Okay. Because you can't even believe things are possible. And again, this comes back to the same thing that I said at the beginning, like belief is everything. If you were to look at, do you remember the 4-minute mile, Roger Bannister?
4-minute mile.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
So this was, I can't remember what year it was. I think it was in the 60s, but Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile because it was thought to be impossible that you could run a mile in under 4 minutes. It was thought to be impossible. He was the first person that did it. And I believe it was either 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, suddenly some other people did it. And then after that, it was easily breakable. Why? Because people believed it was possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And so now you end up in this problem, I would say society large, where you have a reverse 4-minute mile. Nothing is possible. And so now if people don't believe it's possible, they don't even try. Now they can't achieve it.
Hmm. Exactly. Taking you to your business, men's coaching, is that the biggest game changer for your business in the past year, let's say?
I would have to say it's been getting in the right circles.
Mm-hmm.
I think good mentorship is absolutely like pouring jet fuel on a fire. The question is, you have to find good mentorship, right? And
Yeah.
the biggest lesson that I've come from is that, generally speaking, and I'm generalizing here, but I have noticed it now after having been in a number of different masterminds and around a number of different people that are very successful. Generally speaking, you pay for what you get. You really do. So
I get that.
I mean, I'm currently in a 6-month program with some individuals, and that was $13,000, but it was some of the best money I've spent in terms of what it's done for my business. And it's not even that. It's if you're going to grow as a business owner, at some point you need to be around other people that are playing a bigger game than you are. Right. And you have to be around people that have done it. Because, I mean, we can go on YouTube, you can go on social media, you can see all these people that claim all these magnificent things, right? It's like me as a coach. I don't claim anything. I got the video proof.
True.
I can show you a million different things. I don't have to talk. I just show you, hey, you know what? There I was in a town square with police across the street, and I got a hard on, and I did it. You want to know who to trust? There you go. Make your own decisions. And when you're in a group of like-minded business owners, you spend some time with people. It's really easy to start separating fact from fiction. You can see who really knows their craft, who really has knowledge, who really has built value. And you can separate that from the people that are just good at making TikTok videos, for instance, right? So I'd have to say that, yeah, in terms of a game changer, it's really just getting around the right kind of people that they challenge you, and yet they don't stifle you, right? Mm-hmm. It's like you need to be in that growth zone, because whenever things are too difficult, whenever we find things are too difficult, we can't push forward.
Yeah.
Right? If things are too easy, we don't learn anything.
Correct.
It's that old adage, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
I love this quote. I think I've read it somewhere as well.
Yeah.
All right, it's nice. So, right, is there a question you get asked most often about men's coaching in particular?
Well, I mean, in terms of people, they're always asking, well, what do you know about what you teach? This is one of the things I get often, right? Because people don't understand. They think somehow being in the adult film industry doesn't equate to sex, right? Yeah. Like that's like saying, well, I mean, Tom Brady, he can throw a football and he's won some Super Bowls, but I mean, he doesn't really understand the intricacies of football.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Well,
like somehow playing in the Super Bowl doesn't count, right? Well, that's just Tom Brady, and that's the Super Bowl, but he doesn't really know what it's like to play high school football. Well, I don't know. I'm willing to bet that if you put Tom Brady on a high school football team, he'd probably do pretty good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So with a lot of people, they have their own stereotypes that are holding them back from greatness. You still have to look at, well, what is it that I want to achieve? Does this person have what I want to achieve? And we can look at that in numerous different areas, right? Like, if you want to be successful, if you want to make a lot of money, well, learning from the guy that's getting paid $20,000 a year at the community college and saying, well, he's a teacher, so he knows. But the guy sitting in the $10 million mansion, while he doesn't really understand business, that's lunacy. Like, who would think that way? But we still have that even in today's model where, I'll have to argue sometimes with people because they'll say, well, this person has a sexologist degree. And then I say, well, how many people do you think they slept with in their life? 4, 3, 2? We don't know, right?
At best.
But so what is their actual knowledge? Or is the only knowledge that they have derived from a textbook?
Yeah.
And that's, how are we going to now apply that knowledge if it is not from experience, but it's only leveraged from what somebody wrote, and we don't even know that what they wrote was factually true?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's one of the things I'd say, like, in terms of the questions I get asked. Yeah, it's like, well, okay, well, what do you really know about this? And then I have to say, well, a lot. And not only do I understand a lot, but it comes from a practical perspective. Like, everything that I teach my clients is actionable. Like, this is real life. This isn't living in a fantasy world. This is because a lot of men, at least, get defeatist. So they'll struggle to obtain an erection. They'll struggle to be able to last long enough. And they say, oh, it's impossible, or it's just not me. It's like, no, you just don't have the process. That's it. I'm a firm believer anybody can overcome these limiting issues and these limiting beliefs. What they need is a structured process that works. That's it.
Yeah.
Most guys lack is nobody's out there giving them a process because nobody's had to do this for their life and for their career. So it really it gives you some perspective on it, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. Would you say experience over theory based on that?
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. Because, what is theory, right? If you're not out there testing it.
Exactly.
If you're not out there testing theory, it's fantasy. It's not theory. So I think you have a lot of people that fantasize what outcomes might be, but they have no way to test it. And for me, I always looked at the adult industry as a laboratory. Because to me, it is the greatest laboratory if you're going to learn about sexual dynamics, if you're going to learn about relationship dynamics, and if you're going to learn about how you are going to control your body. It's the ultimate testing ground because now you have limitless interactions and you can quickly get a response about what's working and what's not. So now that you can test and iterate over and over and over again to see, like, well, okay, what actually is working, rather than saying, like, okay, well, I had this one sexual interaction and then 9 months later I had another one, and there's so much time in between them to say, well, I can't even remember what I did 9 months ago, or I can't remember what I did 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
Is there a piece of advice you would give to your younger self starting out?
Oh my God, so many. Probably the biggest piece of advice I would have given myself is don't listen to other people. Because you have to believe in you. And that outside noise is just that, it's noise, and it holds you back. I think anybody out there, any guys out there, any kids that are growing up that have a sliver of an entrepreneurial spirit, if they can't find people to nurture it, they need to get away from those people. because the more that you can create an environment where people are going to back you, where people are going to believe in you, where nobody's going to say this is impossible, that's the mindset that you need to succeed. You really got to believe that, hey, I can do this, right? Because when you don't have any negativity doesn't happen. I reference this often because sometimes I'll get asked about the very first scene I ever did as an adult actor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people will say, well, how'd you do your first scene? And I said, I did great. But I say, guess what? Because they're like, well, how is that possible? And I said, well, I was 21 years old at the time. So, I probably started masturbating when I was 11. And guess what my track record was?
Yeah.
I had been batting 1,000%. You know what? I had never failed by myself. So the idea that you could fail to obtain an erection wasn't on my map of reality. It never actually occurred to me that you could fail. And because I never thought failure was an option, it wasn't an option. It just wasn't there. And so, it's like when you have that negativity creep into your mind, I often with my clients, I'll say, what? The two worst words that could ever enter your mind is, I hope. Because you're presupposing it's going to go bad. I hope I last long enough. I hope she likes me. I hope I get it up. I hope. I don't deal in hope. Let's deal in certainty.
Yeah. Get it done.
Yeah. Because if you're certain it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But if you're hoping it's going to happen, you've left a massive door open for failure. And it's really, again, it's all about your mindset at the end of the day. So yeah, I would say the more that you can close out those negative voices from your life, the faster you're going to go, and the better off you're going to be.
I see. Okay, let's dive in the bonus section now. So I'll say a word or a phrase, and you must reply with the first thought that comes to your mind. Make sense?
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay, well, let's see how this goes. Pressure's on.
First one, self-improvement.
Dan Pena.
Sexuality.
Erik Everhard.
Life coaching.
Important.
Relationships.
Everything.
Male health and lifestyle.
Optimization.
I see. Why do you think optimization on the last one?
Because as a guy, you want to be the optimal version of yourself, right? So that means setting yourself up for success in every way, shape, and form, because you can always be better than you are now. So does that mean I got to change my diet? Does that mean I got to read more books? Does that mean I need to meditate? Like, what does it take for me to be the optimal male that I could be? Because most of us, we're leaving money on the table, metaphorically speaking, in all aspects of our lives. And do you want to go to the grave saying, you know what? I was a 60% man. Like, does anybody out there say, you know what? 65%, that's good enough for me. Not the guys that I roll with, right? Like, I can't see anybody out there saying, well, that's good enough. And if we want to achieve that, then, we want to optimize ourselves as much as possible.
That's brilliant. Any last words from Erik before we close the pod?
Just that anybody out there that's looking to improve their life or optimize their abilities, in the bedroom and without, they can just go to the everhardacademy.com, which is at everhardacademy.com. That is my flagship program where I teach men everything that I've learned from mental tactics to everything about women and life, actually. And it's all included inside there.
Brilliant. Thank you, Erik, for being here.
No, thank you very much, man. This was great.
And that was Erik Everhard, ladies and gentlemen.